The New Day had one of the most impactful heel turns in recent memory, and one that came out of nowhere. Turning on their injured partner Big E in his first live Raw appearance in years left everyone shocked and widely praising for how well it was performed without even getting physical. But since then, are they building something special, or has it all been a noble failure? I'm Chris Apples from Aussie Cousins Wrestling, and we're asking what on earth is happening with the New Day. Here at AC Dub, we named the New Day heel turn as the second most memorable moment of 2024, behind Cody Rhodes finishing his story at WrestleMania. While there may have been some recency bias to that decision, the way it was handled was unlike any other heel turn in the modern era. Kofi Kingston and Xavier were celebrating their 10-year anniversary of the formation of the New Day, who of course were originally heels, when they brought out their stable partner Big E, who returned to the ring for the first time on TV since his horrible neck injury. But it was the incredible scenes of Xavier and Kofi explaining how, despite his injury, E was focusing on his own life and never helping out his friends anymore. When a shocked Big E told them he'd be there every show from now on as their manager and went to reconcile with a hug, Kofi simply put his hand on him to push him away. The shot of Big E walking out of the arena was captivating and heartbreaking all at the same time. They were widely praised for the boldness of this move and the execution of the heel turn being just about perfect. The following week on Raw, and the rest of the locker room couldn't stand to see the side of the two bad guys. Even those who are baddies themselves didn't want anything to do with Xavier and Kofi. When they came out to the ring for the first promo, they were receiving Dominic Mysterio levels of heat and could barely get a word out without the crowd booing, chanting New Day sucks, off New Day, and wanting Big E to come out. Everything appeared to be working for them. Over the next couple of weeks, while still getting good levels of heat, they were having a standoff with locker room leader Rey Mysterio, who didn't want them changing in the same rooms as the rest of the male superstars. Kofi's own mother, having supposedly flown in specifically for the event, even rejected her own son on the 23rd of December edition of Raw, with her walking away getting a huge reaction. This seemed destined for a meeting between the New Day, taking on Rey Mysterio and a partner of his choosing, as the challenge was laid out for the first Raw on Netflix. But then it just seemed to get dropped. What appeared to be a way for the WWE to introduce Penta to the mix was seemingly forgotten about, and the New Day would not have their first broadcasted match as newly turned heels on the biggest Raw in history. While this would actually turn out for the best for Penta, who had some great matches against Chad Gable and Pete Dunne to start off his WWE career, it could have turned into a disaster for Xavier and Kofi. The New Day would be consigned to backstage segments and promos during advertisement breaks, and what should have been the team getting major heat on a massive stage just saw them slagging off local sports teams and spouting out the usual heel shtick to get reactions from the crowd. Finally, on the 20th of January, over a month and a half after turning heel, Kofi Kingston was in a match against locker room leader Rey Mysterio, which he lost. While Kofi did his best to try and get some heel work in, his arsenal largely remained the same. Ya former boys would get their heat back by taking out Rey Mysterio after the match, before Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde made the save. The New Day would then make a sneak attack on Joaquin Wilde and run away again. Maybe we have some signs of life. Xavier Woods would have a match with Rey Mysterio a week later, and this time he would get the family treatment that Kofi suffered a month earlier, as his folks turned on him during the match, revealing New Day Sucks shirts, which would lead to the win for Rey Mysterio. A better angle, but again, the New Day still haven't got a win. His family then told the crowd that everyone needs to subscribe to Aussie Cousins Wrestling, as they're on a quest to reach 1,000 subscribers. The New Day's first tag match together would come a week later on the Raw after Royal Rumble, as they took on Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio. And this time we started to progress even further into the storyline, with the New Day needing Logan Paul's help, who would be facing off against Rey Mysterio to qualify for Elimination Chamber a week later. If they had to stoop to those levels, then they're definitely the worst kind of heels, right? It would take another 3 weeks for the New Day to get another match on Raw, this time with the LWOB team, Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro. I know that's being a bit harsh there because they are very gifted wrestlers, but that is just how they are treated. After getting the win, the New Day would continue their beatdown on their opponents for the save to be made by Dragon Lee. Madison Square Garden would play host to the third match in the New Day and LWO series with a tornado tag match against Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee. The New Day's heel shtick was improving again in this match, but it would take for the interference of El Grande Americano, who may or may not be definitely Chad Gable, to provide the assistance for the New Day to get the up, down for the win. But during this current European tour, what have we seen from them? A backstage appearance where they tell Adam Pearce that they better have a tag team shot at WrestleMania, and that is about it. Let's discuss some of the issues that could be hampering the New Day heading into WrestleMania. One of the first possible issues from the heel turn is a lack of continued direction. There was clearly a plan from the first couple of weeks to feed off that nuclear heat that they would be getting. But after that, the creative appears to have been made up more on the fly than it should have been. A heel turn as seismic as this needs to be worked on constantly, and to not even have a match until 6 weeks later is never going to work. Xavier and Kofi are two of the most creative people in the entire roster, so I imagine there were plenty of pitches made by the two of them as to how their run would go. But the next point definitely stopped them in their tracks, as the Raw on Netflix debut stymied their run. They were scheduled to make their in-ring returns on this history-making show, as Rey Mysterio would find a partner to team up with, widely expected to be a debuting Penta. But along with a number of other things that were supposed to occur on the show, it simply didn't happen, and there was no explanation as to why this was the case. Along with a lot of other superstars, their only appearance on the show would be during the advertisement breaks, which is not any way to build momentum as the biggest heels in your division. Since debuting on Netflix, Raw regularly only sees 4 matches an episode, with only some of the events seeing 5. With such a low number of matches each week, it is impossible for wrestlers in the mid-card to get any kind of traction, especially if they're not getting regular mic time as well. There has been one show that had 6 matches on the Raw card, but only one of those matches went over 10 minutes, with the New Day's match only getting just over 5. This has been a common problem with those lower than the main event level talent on Raw throughout the last few months, as storylines build up and then die so quickly. They try to resuscitate the story, but it is never the same once the initial momentum is lost. But is there a glimmer of hope for the New Day? In our WrestleMania booking disasters video, we suggested that not having something substantial for the New Day to do on the grandest stage of them all would be one such disaster. Even floating the idea that they could destroy some sorry tag team and take their place to try and get even more heat on them. But despite barely featuring on the broadcasted shows, they did have a segment stating they want their title shot at Mania, which you don't usually hear unless there is some substance to it. And they have been taking on the current World Tag Team Champions, the War Raiders, in the live shows on the Road to WrestleMania European Tour. If this is a precursor to them having a match in Las Vegas next month, then maybe, just maybe, the heel turn would have been all worth it. But if they don't appear at Allegiant Stadium over that weekend, then this could have been one of the biggest busts in recent memory. Let us know what you think about the New Day heel turn and what their plans should be going forward. 2 simple clicks of the like button followed by the subscribe button will help us out enormously. And the most important thing from us is we hope that you all have a wonderful day.